No problem. It's a nice drive.
Lots of green fields.
It's kind of looking a little more official.
Yeah.
Official.
I had a place up north of Des Moines, 300 acre farm up there. Yeah. Pretty much I just bankrolled it. Go in and take a bunch of Marines and we'd go and plow the fields in the spring and in the fall. If we were clear, we'd go harvest, drink and party and have a good time. A change of pace. Belmont, Iowa, on Highway 69. Yeah. Well, welcome. How you doing here? Second, third meeting? Yeah, I see your, I think it's your wife online. That's nice.
I'm just reviewing. Oh, no, I haven't seen anything yet. I'm just reviewing the committees.
Yeah, your girlfriend.
No, there's nothing in here, so I'm guessing they're just going to present it.
COVID-19, the meeting will be held via Zoom today.
Good, thanks.
Hey, Josh, how you doing?
Good, how about you?
All right.
Andy, how are you?
Stellar, how are you?
Kids got your kids.
Andrew, is that a new look?
Yeah, this is a new look for Andrew.
Hey, I appreciate that nice candy.
Step up there.
He's a lot. This is
You guys sent some nice candy.
This is Joe Estes with Gus Rosenfeld. I'm Andrew's partner. I'm here filling in for him tonight.
This one?
Yeah. That'll mute it.
Okay.
Where are you at? Are you sitting here?
Unmute it. It's up to you if you want to leave it on or off.
I'll just leave it.
Hey, Chief. Hey, Chuck.
Thank you.
What are you saying?
Chuck over there, he's growing a beard.
Yeah, I saw that.
If we don't harass you, we don't love you.
What's that? Did they say? They said you were growing one. Oh,
It takes time.
yeah.
Did you ever do any time
Took
on
me
that?
about 50 years.
No, I just, I've been out there 4 or 5 times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We drove around.
You keep trying to.
I've been wanting to do this for so
There's something about you Omaha girls, you know?
Oh, it's pretty, the
I
whole,
said I've
whole
wanted to
place.
do this for so long.
They just pull
I
it.
got it.
I walked by your office today. I'm not liking what I see.
Really? Yeah, we enjoyed that. We went last.
I like it. It's real.
2 years ago.
Oh, that's pretty tiny. It's still a little warm.
The chairs.
Cheers.
I know, right? Aaron was
Yeah, yeah.
one foot in the door trying to get up.
First day was good, and then all of a sudden they got
Yeah.
What's that?
Rain is a good thing. We're here right now.
You all right?
I'm doing good.
Really bad.
I'm doing good. It rained.
It did rain.
I'm just jacked. I'm so excited to have mud instead of dust.
I am so happy.
Yeah.
The rain.
Yeah, that's.
It's supposed to be all
I
week.
started looking at it, it's like,
Card I got.
It'd be nice to have rain like we had today all week long.
My road's already.
I didn't realize that.
Well, the roads are gonna be the roads, but the countryside will sure love it.
My
It's
cows need it.
Definitely.
Shipping copy.
Yeah, we've never fed as much as we've had to feed this year.
That, you know,
I'm done now. On the 18th. The last 3 are going, and I'm taking a break. A month or so.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Toss
I
it.
love it, but I need a break.
All figured out.
So I don't need to worry about.
I got a lot of businesses coming to me that want to move here from the Carolinas and all over.
Right.
Yeah, people know me and they say, oh. So they flew out here and I drove them around, showed them around. Now I'm working on getting them a hunk of land and building the building
That was a hiccup.
and a few other, well, yeah.
You okay?
It's
Yeah, I just
interesting.
need to breathe.
Learning curve.
That I
Because
wasn't.
I've only been here 10 years.
Why can't we drink in these meetings?
You know, the Legion.
I don't know, it's 5:30.
I guess it depends on what.
Did you ever get an answer to
I was gonna ask
the
what-
social security lady? Just graduated school.
Yeah.
Estimates are very high. and I can't trust them.
Good evening.
Hey, Mayor.
Good.
Sorry.
Yeah. Try and make that happen. Hi, how are you?
I saw they built a pad. Yes, ma'am.
Liaison to the fire district,
Yes,
vacant.
it is.
It says alternates vacant.
Well, we'll get to that. It was me.
Well, you are. Just the alternates
Do you
vacant.
want to be?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay. Remind me when we get there.
Okay.
Any words from Tom from anything? Armstrong.
No, no.
It was his birthday yesterday.
Still partying.
Was that today or yesterday?
I'm not sure.
I was yesterday.
Let's see. Yeah, that's what I
Yesterday.
thought. I said,
You gonna follow him?
happy birthday.
Okay.
You got caught in the traffic jam. I'm smart.
Well, I'm glad I'm not on the UDA update.
The what?
The UDO update.
Why not?
Draw that short stick.
Nope.
It's fun. Isn't it, Josh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Lon, I'm gonna remove myself from utility. And I can't remember who I put over there, but I'll tell you that when we talked, but we didn't get a chance to talk.
Okay.
Afterwards. I just got too much other stuff. Just one more meeting. Unless you really want me to.
You've got your name on enough stuff, I think.
I do too.
You got enough room?
Yeah, I mean, that may be,
You'll come sit down. So I have it muted, just hit the gray button once and then I'll turn it back on.
I think you need to come up now, Joe.
like I did last week. Yeah, I was wondering that. I asked them about it. I said, are we doing it all on Zoom? No, it's voluntarily, but
So he said he can hear us, but he can't hear. I just admitted him, so he should be able to hear.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
I got you.
Yeah,
Happy birthday.
thank you very much. I read the instructions, thought it was only on Zoom or I'd have been there. Sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah.
Aaron, he'll be able to see.
Yeah, it's on the other-
any ticking?
Right.
We should have already shared the screen, but I'll make sure that it was.
Did you listen to most of your way?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Okay, Tom's on. Everybody's here. Ready? You ready? We're ready? Good. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. Can we have roll call, please?
Yes, you may. Councilmember Kelly.
Present.
Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Perkins. Here. Councilmember Armstrong.
Here,
Remotely. Councilmember Grunio.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mendoza.
Here.
Mayor Miller.
Here.
And we have Town Attorney Joseph Ness, who is also remotely.
Hello.
Hello, Joseph.
Hello, everybody. Joe's good.
Okay, let's go on to item 2. Wait, I forgot to silence my phone, excuse me. Review and discussion on the proposed guidelines for the recreational marijuana. Josh Cook.
Thanks, Mayor. Andrew has been working on draft language for the recreational marijuana. He took from Prescott and Yavapai County and the language that they used and nearly did a copy and paste with some updated language for our community. The language includes purpose statement definitions. The definitions are meant to kind of tie down is from marijuana products to marijuana concentrate, testing facilities, things like that. And then it'll go through requiring those who want to cultivate and sell recreational marijuana, they have to obtain a dual license with the state, which would require them to get permission to cultivate and sell medical marijuana and then get the recreational marijuana as well. So in order to have a dispensary here in town or whatnot, and the attorney can step in at any time and correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're doing good. Yeah, he's right. There's a few different options that the different cities and towns throughout the state have. One is there are a few cities that have implemented complete bans on recreational marijuana. Others that have gone this route, which is, as Andrew told me, is mirroring what is done in Prescott, so that the county's pretty uniform, where you're allowing it for dual licensees only. They have to have a medicinal marijuana license as well. And then there's some jurisdictions that are opening it up to say, anybody who is able to get a license can come in subject to certain zoning restrictions and things like that.
So,
and that's not to say that there's going to be a ton of licenses issued. It's up to the state, and they're not going to be issuing a ton of licenses right off the bat.
Not only that, but I believe that there is a distance requirement between dispensaries. And in my discussions with Andrew, it would limit the number of dispensaries that our community would have, even if multiple people came in with the dual license. Our community is unique in that we already allow medical marijuana, and we have some PDRs that are currently operating cultivation sites within town. And so some of the changes that will need to be made to this language currently is to 117-5, which is marijuana testing facility prohibition. That language right now doesn't have any exemptions.
We don't
have them.
Oh, okay. I can make copies really quick and provide them to you if you want.
Sure,
Okay,
might be beneficial. So
sorry.
we're all on the same page that way.
I got the language this morning.
We didn't get it yet.
You don't need to read it. Just adopt it first, right? I'm just kidding.
No comment.
Sorry.
We're trying to move away from that kind of thing.
I was being sarcastic.
I know that.
It's a very short 5,000 page ordinance.
I'm sorry, sir, go ahead.
I said it's a very short 5,000 page ordinance.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, so the ordinance is about 7 pages. 2 of those pages are definitions. So I mean, it locks down what we would allow within our community as far as recreational marijuana goes, while allowing for the continuation of the cultivation, which is currently allowed by our UDO. So regardless of this language being adopted, we still need to come back and amend the UDO section 4.31, which is, or 4.30, which is the medical marijuana section that we currently have. So that would have to be updated to link this section, which is the recreational marijuana. The town attorney is proposing to put the recreational marijuana directly into town code. So the UDO update would basically reference section 117 instead of adding in additional language, because then we would have 2 sections that we'd have to update anytime one was updated, and we'd rather avoid that. Are there any questions while we wait for the language?
I'm sure that'll make sense when we actually are looking at it.
Yeah, I believe the state is allowing those that are cultivating medical marijuana to apply for and receive the dual license. They are given priority. Once they receive the dual license, then they can then cultivate the recreational marijuana as well.
They're still attached to a retail, like the medical.
That I'd have to ask the attorney. I believe that's the case.
Josh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Nope.
Is there a difference between the plant or the process between medical and recreational?
I know nothing about the cultivation of marijuana in any of
I was,
shape or form.
you would talk like it was two different classes of, or grades or something, you know what I mean?
Well, they're referenced differently in state code. So you have medical marijuana and now we have recreational marijuana.
Okay.
I don't know what goes into the development of either one of them.
Sure you don't. Tom, we'll get a copy of this in your box for you. You can pick it up tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.
This is just a question. When we made the changes for medical marijuana grow facilities, it had to be in industrial zoning attached to the grow house, the cultivation, and the dispensary had to be all in one. Does this change that at all?
That's not technically true. So we only have one dispensary, and that dispensary was on 89. They have, while they've closed down so that they're not an actual dispensary, I don't believe that they have revoked their license with the state, so they could come back if they want. But all of the marijuana sites that we now have are not considered dispensaries as far as I understand. They cultivate and then they ship it off to another place where they do the extraction and infusion.
So this was not in regards to the existing, but for any in the future.
I think when they got their license, Josh, I think part of the health, you gotta have a dispensary attached to your cultivation. The on site.
Oh, right.
That was part of your license. That was.
Okay, so any future medical / dual license recreational marijuana cultivation sites would have to follow everything that's in our current code, which would require one industrial zoning, meet all state statutes, including the dual licensee, and then whatever other stipulations we have in section 4.31. Okay.
Did we ever take out the word medical when we were doing the business park greenhouse? Remember how we excluded?
The business park excluded commercial greenhouses completely. They're prohibited, I thought. I can look that up quickly.
All right, what were the changes you were talking about?
Well, it wouldn't matter. It wasn't just.
It's business park. Yeah.
Maybe it was a draft before. Okay.
So in section 117-5, the first, you did not get the color version of it, but the first sentence there was existing. That sentence does not include any exemption language, such as what is found in 117-6 and 117-7. So 117-6 says, except as provided in section 117-4 and 117-8. That's an exemption. That's an exemption statement. So something similar would have to be added to 117-5 for the existing PDR facilities that we have already.
Okay.
Angela's working on that language.
Got it.
So currently we just have the one dispensary that still is licensed for that location,
Yeah, even though they're not open,
but they could move back.
they could. Yeah.
That dispensary, they have a distribution center here too? They don't.
And that I don't know. I just know that the dispensary that's on 89 is no longer open, but when we looked at it, it didn't look like they had.
Looks like it's open as an apothecary or something right now, has a sign up.
I can look into it again.
Saw the apothecary.
Okay,
I don't know exactly.
maybe a new word for marijuana.
Yeah.
So these numbers that I'm seeing, 117-3, et cetera, this is the proposed or this is existing?
No, this is the proposed language that we are proposing to adopt. This language was taken, pretty much copied from Prescott and Yavapai County, because this is what they adopted, and it's very similar. There's a few exemptions that we have to put in it because we already have PDRs and cultivation sites within the town. Sorry.
And that's the only changes you see?
That's correct.
So what does public place or open space
Where are
in
you,
the
Lawrence?
town? I'm on 117-3B. I'm just seeing that as being pretty broad, so I'm just wondering how we,
Public place would be any town-owned property.
Well, there's a definition here. You have
Right,
a
it's
definition.
defined, yeah.
There's a definition for public space, which is also defined in the ARS.
They're dual licensing, and they have a grow center and a location. I'm looking at 117-6. Marijuana cultivation facilities are prohibited. If they have a distribution center, or I don't know what the word for that is, warehouse or whatever, they have a store, are they able to have both?
I didn't think so.
Not on the same property.
Not the same property, but both in the town?
Well, some
And they're able to
PDRs
sell?
currently have cultivation sites.
Right, but it says
And-
so they're not able to sell out of the manufacturing facility. But if they have a store here, they can sell
Right, and that would be where the dispensary would be.
the dispensary. Okay, so if they have they can have a distribution center and a dispensary in town?
I'd have to defer that question to the attorney. I thought that there were separation requirements for those.
I wonder if there's like a certain limit that they have to be for town.
I don't have an answer for that.
Sorry, what was the question?
So if they have a warehouse or distribution center and they have a dispensary, are they able to have it both in the same town? It said they can't
Yes.
sell out of the distribution center, but if they have a dispensary, they can sell out of there. They would both be
Correct.
in town.
If they're a dual licensee, you'll see that it says except as provided in 117-4. And 117-4 is the limiting provision of the dual licensee, and then it also provides the restrictions as to where those operations can be.
Pretty cut and dry.
Okay, 1174B1. Should not be more than one marijuana establishments operating in the town.
Is that dispensary or grow?
Well, then you go back to the definition of a marijuana establishment. An entity licensed by the department to operate a single retail location at which the licensee may sell marijuana and marijuana products to consumers, cultivate marijuana. Well, do you cultivate it at the establishment? Or manufacture marijuana products? Because we also have in our town code that we don't have any manufacturing marijuana product in the Chino code now.
Yeah, our current code does allow for the extraction and infusion, but it has to be called out.
We allow what?
The extraction and infusion. Those are things that are allowed by our code.
Okay, but it was fun, like in it, the baked goods or the gummy bear things. I was thinking that we did not have facilities for that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about baked goods or, our code doesn't talk, it doesn't talk about anything like that. So, any marijuana, currently, any individual who wants to cultivate and extract and do those types of businesses or whatnot, but with regard to the marijuana, they have to be located in an industrial site or a site that's got a protected development right currently. The protected development rights are a little bit different because they are tied exactly by the language of what they requested.
Well, that we were well aware of when we actually did this.
Well, one of those.
They wanted to be able to use the land that they already owned in the future.
That's correct, yeah. Well, one of them did request the ability to extract and infuse. The others did not, so.
That's what I'm saying. Isn't that what extraction and infusion is? Is if you're gonna take it and make it into something else, like bears or brownies or whatever.
So how do you do that?
Can she blame? Yeah. On language.
Definition is extraction.
Not in this, but I believe it's in our current UDO.
So is infusion then putting it like into the cookies or whatever they make?
I think so.
We can expand upon those definitions when we update the UDO as well, if you would like, because there are some definitions that are not there that should be.
I personally want some more time with this so I can actually go back over what it was and what our intent was when we did the first one. And
I thought
Well,
for
yeah,
sure.
it looks like we have some crossover or someplace where we could have the same thing we have with code and UDO when we got things contradicting each other, so.
My knowledge is that for not the ones that were already here, but from going forward, had to be industrial, grow, cultivate, and have the storefront all in one property, all in one location.
I remember not that. I remember that marijuana was grown here, couldn't be sold here. It had to go somewhere else.
But
Already attached already to the dispensary.
Right, and they had to be attached with it other than here.
the
They couldn't grow and sell in the same thing.
the dispensary that was here,
Right.
what they sold here was actually grown somewhere else.
So-
And they deliberately did that separation.
So our current language in 4.31E says there shall be no retail sales, restaurant, food services, or adult entertainment activities within a medical marijuana cultivation facility. If you go lower, medical marijuana infusion facilities shall be located on the same site as a dispensary or cultivation facility on-site. And shall not occupy greater than 20% of the gross floor area of the respective dispensary or cultivation facility. There shall be no retail sales, restaurant, food services, or entertainment activities within a medical marijuana infusion facility, and all cultivation of medical marijuana shall take place within an enclosed locked structure comprised of a roof and walls that fully obscure all plants and cultivation activities from public view and in compliance with the provisions of this code and Arizona state law. So our code clearly allows for the infusion of products. They would have to comply with the conditions of this code. So that's for medical marijuana. Section 117 is bringing in the recreational marijuana. So while there may be some overlap, the recreational marijuana is the only thing that's addressed in section 117. Which is why when we update the UDO for recreational marijuana, we would only be referencing section 117 because it would be found in the town code and would not be in contradiction to what we require for medical marijuana.
Is that part of the UDO going to be updated before the dispensaries are able to operate?
We need to put some language together for the UDO update. I don't think that they would go concurrently. The reason we were wanting to adopt the recreational marijuana provisions for 117 is to protect the town from the sale and provision of recreational marijuana. That's what this ordinance was for. The attorney can correct me if I'm wrong.
But with the dual license, it would be able to.
Well, the dual license, what that means is in order to even sell recreational marijuana, you have to be able to sell by state medical marijuana because you've obtained the dual license. Right now, our community doesn't require that.
Isn't the Department of Health requiring, or they're giving first choice to the people that are already licensed?
My understanding is the people that already have the medical marijuana license are getting first. They're getting first choice, basically.
So going back to my question, from what I have been hearing, it's around March is when they're going to start issuing those. I don't know for certain. Is the UDO language that we're referencing when we adopted this going to be in place by then?
I can do my best to get it there.
I just don't want to, I don't want to go through with this and have it reference the UDO and then it not be in the UDO.
This is not going to reference the UDO at all. What we're proposing is for the UDO to reference this section. Because this is going to regulate all recreational marijuana within the town of Chino Valley. The UDO already regulates medical marijuana. So instead of doubling up, what we're going to do with the UDO is put in language that references section 117. So we're not having to update two different sections. Yeah, right.
So, as confused as I am about this,
Sorry.
it doesn't appear, question please, it doesn't appear like if we accept this to piggyback the medical marijuana, that there's any real downside. We can still make adjustments within the UDO and that if we want to down the road. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, the downside is if you don't have something in place, then anyone can come into the town and pretty much anywhere where there's a commercial property, be able to sell recreational marijuana because you don't have any zoning restrictions with regard to recreational marijuana.
So that's
that's what this code provision provides. It protects the town from that, from having anyone come in who is given a license, whether they're dual licensee or not. But currently, even if a dual licensee is provided a recreational license, there's nothing in the town code that limits where that licensee can then operate for recreational marijuana.
So we need to do this.
Okay, then I would say go ahead and bring it to us at the council meeting for approval. And if we have any questions between now and then, we will have time to.
It's a light meeting, remember, so we'll have time.
Yeah.
Just want to know.
Josh, I'm still hung up on page 4, 117-4, B, number 1. And if you read the definition, which is on page 3 of a marijuana establishment, it says cultivation. So that's what we got what, 4 growers in town?
Yeah, I believe 4.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
So
Single retail location.
I'm sorry, keep reading. It says cultivate.
There's a retail.
A single reel located with license. Okay, never mind. Retraction.
Is there a limit on how
Got it.
many
Got it
licenses
now.
are gonna be handed out per state or per,
I don't know what the state's gonna do.
is there a limit on how many licenses are gonna be issued? And where they can go?
Boy, I mean, I've read about it in the paper. I don't remember that. They said.
Currently, they are limiting the number of licenses that they're going to issue initially. And so there are going to be some counties that will only get 1 or 2 or 3 at the most licenses for the entire county. That's not to say that they're not going to change their procedures and how things go down in the future, but it's not like there's going to be a recreational marijuana facility on every corner like a Circle K.
California.
Liquor store.
Okay, what do you think? Everybody good? Tom, you got anything?
Is the number of facilities going to be based on the population or what?
Could you hear him?
Yeah, and that'll all be up to the state. The state will dictate the number of licenses allowed in the county, and then the municipal jurisdictions, the towns and cities, then are able to regulate where those facilities are able to go within the municipality.
Okay, so we can limit the number we have here in Chino by putting it in a UDO?
Correct.
I have that on.
And you're limiting it as well by requiring anyone who wants to do recreational marijuana to also be a medicinal marijuana license holder.
So we could reduce it to the one medicinal we have in town and make him the only one that could do recreational.
That's the way this code is currently drafted, that you have to be a dual licensee. So if you only have one medicinal licensee in the town right now, that licensee would be the only one that could even operate a recreational facility.
Yeah, that'd be fine with me. Of course, for my money, I'd just as soon not have any of them here at all, but if we allow one, that's fine.
Well, we have 4 municipal, or municipal.
Not municipal.
4 medical marijuana facilities growers that we have
Business
now.
is booming.
So could all of them apply then for the recreational also, and there would be 4 of them in town? Except that the state is limiting the amount of permits, so it may be a first come, first served thing.
It's definitely going to be a first come, first served thing, and they are limiting the number of licensees for recreational licensees. I am not sure if there's a difference between a medicinal licensee who operates a consumer location and cultivators who actually grow the product to sell to those medicinal facilities.
Go in.
Okay. I have this stuck in my brain because maybe I was in planning and zoning, maybe it was before council. I thought it was in council. When all the growers came in and we were like, oh, we put what I thought was recommended was we put that they had to be on industrial. The grow facility be attached to the cultivation facility to be attached to the dispensary. It all had to be in one place. Right, it all had to be on one property.
No, the dispensary wasn't on that.
No, not the old one, for going forward from after the surprise.
I don't believe that's the case. I don't think the dispensary still had it attached, but wasn't on the property.
I thought it was even the opposite of that. The dispensary couldn't be on the grow property.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know
That's
that
what I
it was
thought.
ever on the property.
Yeah.
It's
Huh.
supposed to be like a storefront, kind of like what we had.
All I'm saying is y'all should have listened when I said take out the medical part. Be a lot easier work for you. I'm just teasing. All right, so we'll see this at council.
Well, it's got to get finished. And then,
No, since it's just the town code, it doesn't have to go to P and Z, but the amendment to the UDO will. So any changes we make to the UDO will go to P and Z first.
And that can be done after.
so
Yeah.
you'll get these changes done and then somebody will get it to everybody on council so we can all review it before, because this is slated for Tuesday night, right? Is that not correct? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was, never mind.
Whenever, just depending on the discussion.
I'm sorry. I thought it was slated for Tuesday. Please excuse me. Okay, anything else?
What
Tom?
changes are you-
No, I'm fine.
There's some changes that need to be made to 117-5.
Give us a chance to read it. and then-
Yeah.
All right.
I'll make
Tom, you
sure-
got anything else, buddy?
No, sir, I'm fine. I'd just as soon leave it with 4 growers and 1 seller.
Could be more.
All right, item 3, consideration discussion regarding moving forward with the completion of the 70% police building design and financing the construction of the new police department. Chief Wynn and company. Thank you, Josh. And company and company and company and more company. And even more.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
You're not on.
I'm not-
I need to turn it on. Can we just make sure that Mr. Armstrong, Councilmember Armstrong, can see the screen?
Councilmember Armstrong, can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
So this will be a little redundant, but we wanted to go back and bring our new council members up to speed on where we've kind of been with this project over the last couple of years. So I'm going to try to go kind of quick, but if you have any questions, just flag me down and stop me. I'm going to kind of go over the history and the need, and then Mr. Stroh will go over the building design, and then Mr. Duffy will follow up with the finances. This is our current facility. We moved in approximately 1990 to 91. I can't nail it down for sure because I don't have anybody that was here at the time. We just had to kind of go back and piece it together the best we could. Since that time, our staff's tripled. We did add the old food bank building about 2015, which we use about 2/3 of that for evidence storage, and our 2 detectives work there. So it's on the same property, but off-site. We have a number of sheds. We have a number of covered areas that we're using. It kind of looks like a junkyard back there, if you can see the aerial view, but we just kind of had to make do with what we have. And we have looked at a lot of options over the years. These are some of them. There's some pretty specific requirements we need for parking, secured parking, a sally port, things like that. So some of these locations just don't offer the kind of parking we need, or like the pet club building, that corner would be horrendous, even if it had parking, trying to get in and out with all the traffic from Safeway and the post office and things. We looked at the old high school gym. That thing is just possibly a money pit waiting to happen. We don't really even know what we'd be getting into there as far as, if we had to tear that down and remodel inside. So, and there'd be a lot of logistics because it would have been a lot of moving pieces trying to relocate them and then relocate town hall. So that one kind of fell through. Shopco has no parking in the back, and there again, it would require major remodeling, which we would be investing money in something the town doesn't even own.
I also think those 2, the Shopco and Pet Club, I mean, those should be retail.
The retail locations, and we would hate to take that space away from a retail location. We talked about Old Home Manor, but it just puts us further from the highway, which we're trying to actually get on the highway, as close to the highway as possible. We'd have to get utilities from wherever they are out there onto the property, but we'd be having to use the 2-lane, Perkinsville Road to come in and out, and it's probably worse than where we are now. This just talks a little bit about, where we are now. We're in a residential neighborhood. We have the schools, depending on which direction we're traveling, we're going to either be passing schools, we're passing the senior center, which sometimes are worse than school kids about. Everybody assumes that's a parking lot and they like to stand in the middle of it and talk when it's actually a roadway. So it does make it dangerous. And then of course, on our code 3 calls, we have the sirens and things that we're disrupting the residents. We do not have the actuators on our cars to change the lights, so that like when we go down Road 3 North and get to the light up by McDonald's, it doesn't change for us, and that's a blind intersection. In some ways, I like that because it makes my guys stop and make sure the intersection's clear, but it is a very dangerous intersection. So these are some of the deficiencies we currently have. Our building's about 25% of the space that we should have according to the national averages. The building just is in great need of remodeling. This is actually the window in my office. It leaks. It's been leaking. It leaks, water. It leaks air. The ceiling's leaking. Our building is not ADA compliant whatsoever. There's no public restrooms. We've had one lady that peed all over our lobby one time because everybody just assumes it's a public building. They walk in the door, there'll be a restroom, and there's not. And by the time we get somebody to escort them to the restroom, it happened to be too late in that case. We have 46 staff and volunteers, and we have one restroom for each male, or for male and female. This is our holding area. There is a push right now nationally to accredit police departments. That was part of the 21st century policing and things that have been coming down the last couple of years. Our current building could not be accredited because of our holding cells. By the new standards, you're supposed to separate males and females and juveniles all by sight and sound, which we cannot do. We've had to leave prisoners sitting out in the car before because we've had juveniles in the building and we can't bring the adult prisoner inside. So we actually had a homicide where we had a male prisoner sit in the car for 8 hours in the parking lot while we were interviewing the juveniles because we couldn't bring him in our building. We've had a lot of problems with our plumbing. That's just old. People like to shove stuff down those toilets. One of the things you'll see in the new building is the individual cells will not have a bathroom. We'll have one cell with a bathroom where people will be escorted to it and supervised. And that way there's no toilet that they can mess with in the actual holding cells. And this is our, where we do our DUIs and everything. It's all in that one small back area. This I've talked about before. This is our officer area. It also serves as our lunchroom, our changing area, large evidence processing area. It's all in one area. It's very, very distracting if the officers are trying to do reports because you constantly have people coming in and out. Our cells are right adjacent to that. So we even welded metal up on the cage to try to cut down some of the sound, but they can still hear everything that's going on in that write-up area. So it's just really hard for the officers to do anything, when people are coming and going and talking all the time. So we've also had issues with, one of the big things right now are cell phone downloads where, we had a burglary suspect and they had actually taken pictures of what they were stealing and were sending it to their potential buyer. So the officers downloading that phone. Well, the problem was that suspect also had quite a few pictures of his girlfriend that weren't appropriate on there. And so the officer's trying to go through the phone and find the evidence, but at the same time, all these pictures are coming up and people are walking in and out of that area. So it's just, we just don't have a good area to do that or a private area to do that right now. And these are just some of the storage problems we have. We have one closet for storage, and that's also where all of our electronics are, where all of Spencer's IT stuff is. So we end up just stacking stuff wherever we can find room. I think I made this comment. If you in the picture at the bottom, you can see that wall by our restroom. That's all that separates the men's room from the little kitchen area. So in the morning, you got guys heating up their breakfast while somebody else is getting rid of their breakfast. And there's no soundproofing. So, I'm sure the ladies don't appreciate that in the morning when they're in there. We have no showers, no way to decontaminate anyone that's exposed to a biohazard, which happens pretty regularly. This is our lobby. And with social distancing, well, our lobby's closed right now, but even when we were open, since COVID started, we only allow one person in there because we can't really keep people 6 feet apart. There's no privacy whatsoever for our victims. We do have an adjacent room now that we've created to interview, but it's not soundproof. So anyone standing in the lobby can hear any conversations that go on in that room. So this is, just kind of recapping about the lack of privacy. It's really difficult when we have to discipline someone or counsel someone. It seems like the entire department knows about it before we get done because the walls are paper thin. We have lieutenant sharing offices, sergeant sharing offices. We have no real meeting space. We do have our training building out at the range, but that's used a lot for training. So it's not always available when we need to have a meeting. We have evidence all over the place. We really need to kind of pull that all into one location. And we cannot accredit right now due to, like I spoke about with the cells. We also have to store our guns and ammunition in the same room, which is a very bad idea, not recommended. So it does hurt morale in trying to recruit. When I'm going up against Prescott Valley, the sheriff's office, when they see the building, a lot of times if somebody's coming from out of state, they don't really know anything except what they see on the internet or if they come by and visit us. So it doesn't help a whole lot with that. Just some studies on the space needed for the national, or I think it's actually a Worldwide Police Chiefs Association. They have different studies out there. So based on our number of residents and our population and size of our town, we should be somewhere between the 12 and 24,000 square foot. So the building we're proposing at 16,725 is closer to the bottom of that scale, but it does add a lot of potential for expansion, which Mr. Stroh will go over. It provides the restrooms, the changing areas, it serves the public better. We'll have a multi-purpose room, which the way the building's set up, and he'll explain to you, that room could be used by the public anytime because it'll be a card access system. So if somebody reserves the room, we can give them a code or a card that would only allow them access into that community room, and they would not be able to access the secured area of the building. Gets us all under one roof and just provides a lot better security than what we have right now. This is just an, excuse me, an overhead that Will put together for me. You can see in the little top square, you can kind of see the red dot is where we are currently. The blue is this property we are right now. So it moves us closer to being in the center of town and gets us right on the highway for better access. Also lets the public, I mean, we get calls all the time. We can't find you guys, where are you? So it gets us more visible to the public. It's going to allow us to become ADA compliant. And then if the town chose to pursue accreditation in the future, we would have the capability of doing that. This is just some of the basic data. I checked and I could not get the most recent census data yet. It hasn't been released. So this is just some of the sources we pulled the data from. So if anybody has any questions for me, I'll be happy to ask. Oh, how do I go backwards? Where's the back button? Oh, it's on the bottom. There we go. Uh-oh.
Never mind. I'll look at it.
Wait, there we go. That's the.
Oh, let's go back one more if you would.
One more. Okay. So the red is where we currently are, and the blue is this site right here.
I was looking for square feet per population.
I think
That's the next one.
Oh, one more back. This is the 4,500 is about what we have right now with our two buildings combined, the old food bank building and the current PD. And based on population, we should be somewhere between 12 and 24. And the building that's proposed is 16,725.
On the meeting space, what's the square footage of that?
Mr. Stroh, do you know the meeting space, the approximate square footage on the meeting?
It's designed to hold 200 people in a seating type scenario. It is 1,002 square feet.
1,002. And it would have a small, when we go over the design, it does have what do you call it, type of kitchen? It's a catering kitchen, so that you can, if you have a function where somebody wants to serve food, there is a counter they can put food, and there would be a refrigerator and sink and those type of things. Kind of similar to that, yes, but a little bit more room.
How is getting on the highway here any safer than anywhere else?
Not necessarily safer, but it's just a lot quicker because we're literally coming out of our parking lot onto the highway where we're traveling now between 3/4 of a mile and a little over a mile, depending on which side road we take to the highway. So the dangers between this current building and the highway is my concern, because we're passing a lot of side streets and people's driveways. And, as much as I can tell guys, be careful when a hot call comes out, and they're trying to get to it as fast as they can. They're going probably faster than they should on those back streets, but that's just so hard to control. It's just the nature of the work. We try to push them to 3 north as much as we can, but a lot of times if the call's to the south, depending on time of day and what's going on, they'll go through and go out on Butterfield or Perkinsville.
Where, is there an expected time frame for ADOT to smile at this if we were to go forward? We're gonna need to.
You talked with ADOT. I'll defer because he actually spoke to ADOT.
Me taking the microphone. Tom can hear it.
He can address it. My recommendation is to, I think ADOT would agree, is to not necessarily permanently close off our existing driveway, but we put a crash gate or a gate with a key that if there was an emergency and somebody had an accident at our entrance, we would not be locked in. We could still go open this gate on this old driveway and use it to access the highway, because inevitably at some point somebody will have a wreck right in front of the building. So,
Where's the driveway at?
the current driveway right here, it would be to the south.
Oh, yeah.
And when they bring up they're going to bring up the plans, you can actually see better how that fits onto the property. But we'll be expanding the parking and then creating a wider driveway for two-way traffic coming in and out of this property.
Tom, you have any questions for the chief?
Not at the present time. I was fortunate to have toured the present police facility a few days ago. And as far as I'm concerned, there can be some improvements made and probably be easier to go to the new facility than try to remodel the old.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'll turn it over to Mr. Stroh and he can go through the building design with you guys.
Testing, testing.
It's
Basic.
Is it the same? Just three stories?
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Doug Stroh of Stroh Architecture. And on my left is William Waldron, my right-hand guy. And Bill Otwell, our collaborating architect. And Richard Aldridge from Civil Tech Engineering. So we're going to kind of go back through the slideshow, or I can just tell you that we've addressed everything that the chief had concerns about and it's stop right here.
Nobody had some
Yeah.
So basically, we're going to start, Bill's going to kind of go over how we started with the programming and we'll move on to the other people.
Again, I'm Bill Otwell, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I built my first solar adobe in 1978 on Granite Creek Lane. So I started in Chino Valley, so it's really nice to be back. I wanted to just talk briefly about the process we went through because I'm really pleased with the process we were able to come up with. I'm currently doing some consulting work with the General Services Administration. My office is in Prescott, but I travel around a lot on security issues. I'm working with the GSA on developing security programs for mostly historic courthouses in the West. And our goal is to make them as invisible as possible and still make the facilities as pleasant and inviting as possible while being much more secure. So with that, we were able to look at some of the other facilities that we've looked at in the past. So we started by touring the existing facility, and one slide this chief didn't show you is you have to dodge the copier in the hallway just to get through there. So definitely something that's needed. So we developed this program by touring the existing facility, and then we looked at two other facilities, which is always a really valuable thing to do. I think we went to City of Prescott Police Headquarters, which I designed in 1989 with Steve Polson, who was a police specialist. And it is basically still being used exactly the way we designed it. And it was really good to get to talk to the chief and the staff about that facility. And we had the staff from your police department there with us. And then we visited the Prescott Valley facility where Doug and I, working as a consultant to Doug, did a major addition, a 2-story addition. And once again, very valuable information when you actually talk to the people that live and work in these buildings every day. So with that information, we had 2 planning sessions, programming sessions to develop this program, which is kind of a written graphic description of what we wanted to build in September. And then we had 2 design meetings, again, all of these with the chief and the staff and city staff. We did 2 design meetings in October to actually do the basic preliminary design for the building. Basically, the current design includes high security, energy efficiency. One of the things we saw in both facilities on the tours is it's a big payoff if you design buildings that are basically maintenance free. The Prescott Police Station was built in 1990, and all they've ever done is put a new shingle roof on it. So virtually no maintenance. So that's what we're trying to achieve. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Doug. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. I'm going to just to pick up on this. This shows the different spaces, the sizes of the different spaces that were defined in the program and the spatial relationships. So once everybody agreed on this diagram as far as how the different departments interact and the most efficient way to do it, we turn that into a floor plan, which is the next slide. So if you could compare them, this floor plan ends up being very, very similar to the block diagram, or I prefer the bubble diagrams. And this does reflect input from probably a dozen people in the department. And we had meetings, and then they would have homework assignments. And so this is what we came up with, and really good group to work with. They thought of every little thing that could come up. And so we're pretty happy with how this lays out. It meets and exceeds all the issues that the chief was talking about. This building being about 16,000 square feet, it's got probably about 8 or 10 years built into it for the future before it would get outgrown. But what you've shown us in Chino, you might be able to live in this building for 50 years. So, but this will work good. And like Bill was saying, the building is all masonry, steel, a long-term, probably 30-year rubber roof. So it's built to be around for a long time and not have to put any money into it. Very high energy efficiency with the insulation, the HVAC systems, and the windows. So we like how it laid out in the site. Let's go to the second floor real quick. So here's the second floor, and that is the 1,000 square foot EOC, training room, community room. You could even have a wedding there if you want it. So it's multi-purpose. It is designed so that we can shut that off at night. We can secure that so people only have access to that room and to the restrooms. The rest of it will be shut down, the access, which is mostly administration on the second floor. So that works out pretty good. Next slide is the site plan. And you can see that this site has expansion capabilities of at least another 10,000 square feet. So this site's going to be really good for a long, long, long time. So we like that aspect of it also. And we have added some more parking down below there for ADA access for this building. And then it still leaves a spot that you could, add another building or something in between there and the radio tower. So the site plan works pretty good. We needed more retention And Richard came up with this solution where we pulled the parking lots apart a little bit. And then we're able to get another triangular area with not only retention, but landscaping also. So I think I'll have Richard kind of go over the civil aspects of this site, talk about ADOT and everything else.
Yeah, I like the pointed stuff, so if it's okay, if you want to pull up that colored site plan. again. Here we go. The question about ADOT, we've been working with ADOT for the last 3 months, and sometimes the wheels of government turn slowly, especially with ADOT. But originally, they were looking at having to put a turn lane in here. And although it is warranted, our traffic engineers have argued against that, saying it's not recommended because there's nobody else has turn lanes on there, basically along 89 here. So they've agreed to allow us to eliminate, well, they haven't agreed officially in a written letter yet, but generally they've agreed to allow us to eliminate that turn lane, put in a standard, I think it's about a 36-foot wide driveway through here. So we have an exit lane, an entrance lane, and an exit left and an exit right. By doing that, they required a gate closure here, and we were going to put in one of these type of lockable. They require a Knox box as well on the gate as a secondary access, emergency access. So that saved us a bunch of utility relocations with the big power poles out here and a whole lot of other things that could have caused problems. So the concession was we had to put a gate closure on that north driveway. The site plan, as Doug had pointed out, we're actually into a cemetery draw flood area out here. We've raised the finished floor up, so we're about at least a foot above the flood elevation. During a 100-year event, there's a potential for stormwater to bypass around the facility, maybe 6 inches deep or so. So we've channeled that. Any kind of bypass will pass through and out like it does right now. So that in the case of a 100-year storm, might have a few inches of water that's passing through the site. The floodplain actually comes way out here. So that's one of the things we looked at. This handicap parking here, much more convenient to the front door, much shorter route and a lot of spaces. Parking is not quite doubled, but by separating the two, we were able to get the grading to work where we can make all of our drainage and everything else work on site. Utilities, the city has a 400 PSI water main that runs along the back in an easement over to the PRV station right here, the big vault that's out there. From there, there's a pressure reducing station that necks it down to about 115 pounds. So on your side of the system, we have manageable pressures, but on the city side of the system, it's 400 pounds of pressure, which is an extremely high pressure line. They also have a 30-foot easement that runs along the back here for the water lines. So we stayed out of all of that as well. Running a new water line service and a fire hydrant, which we got everybody to agree on to the location for that. We'll have a new water service for the building. Sewer is convenient because there's an existing sewer line that runs right down that same flag lot back here. And we can just bring the sewer straight up and tie into that. It's deep enough where it works. So utilities are pretty, really workable. Site, I like the site layout. It has the secure parking. The police facility here in the Sallyport. Lots of handicap spaces, and it's handicap accessible from here to here. So you have accessibility between the buildings as well. Any comments or questions? Yeah.
The current entrance, the north entrance there, you're saying that's going to be totally closed off?
It'll have a gate.
No.
It's required to have a lock. ADOT will more than likely require us to put a locking gate on it.
And when do you lock it?
That's be at the convenience, whatever you guys want to do that. It's normally closed. This
So
will be your
basically, we're
primary
taking out
access.
that entire road.
We're not taking the road away. We're just closing that entrance.
So it's not accessible.
So it's not accessible to the public. Unless,
Yeah, you'd be using the south.
yeah, this is your primary entrance now
Okay.
to the site. Your circulation works really well for that. But yeah, that was, ADOT owns the highway and
And we had one time when we had a ambulance out here. You remember that? People couldn't leave the meeting.
Was that me?
We're gonna say that.
So it's nice to have two.
I mean, it happened. I mean, it was on TV.
Yeah, so this is just a secondary emergency
Sorry,
access.
guys.
Or if it needs to be open for some reason in particular, you can unlock it.
You're good.
So what is the reason for locking that? What was ADOT's reason for
Yeah.
not having that open as a
They don't
secondary?
want somebody to be able to open it up. That's my guess. Our traffic engineers are still
Why would they
working.
not want to?
Why not have that ingress egress also as well as the other?
They have both driveways open.
Yes.
They're concerned about other driveways in the vicinity here. One of the reasons that if we were to leave that open, there was a conflict with the turn lanes, so they were wanting us to close that. And their recommendation from what our feedback is so far, was had to have a Knox box and be lockable. So it's normally closed except during an emergency event.
You might
so
explain what a Knox box is?
A Knox box is it's a pretty indestructible locking box that the fire department and the police department would have a key access to, or whoever they've granted access to that, they're the only ones that could open it. They have to open the Knox box to pull the key out and open the gate. Yeah, about 400. I put one on our house for my 93-year-old mother-in-law that lives with us, so that they could access our building.
Seems strange, but that's what somebody says.
It's ADOT.
We'll find out.
So,
It's ADOT.
so they were concerned with conflict with the turn lane?
Yeah, there's the driveway right here, this driveway right here. They were real happy to see this go in because now you have some separation, but they wanted that closed so that you'll have that access and this access.
But we aren't going to necessarily have a turn lane,
Right now, we don't have to have a turn lane
right?
if we lock the gate. That's the
Lock the
trade-off.
gate.
Yeah. But it's there. The access is there if you need it in an emergency or if you have
Sure.
an event that requires it.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's been one of my biggest concerns is, emergency vehicles trying to get out onto the highway at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon when this highway is already a wreck. And so I guess I understand, I don't see, no, and I'm not the expert, I'm just throwing out here what I'm seeing, but I don't see where calling it a turn lane would be that beneficial, but I certainly see where it could be, if you had that other area or that other driveway open, that you could use it as a merge lane. For 2 lanes of traffic to be coming down there, and the officers could use it to get out there and use it for a merge lane like we have down there at National Bank, off of Road 1 South, where you can make that turn, traffic can be flowing, and you can turn out there and you've got enough time to pick up speed and merge in.
Yeah, and with the deceleration lane, we had a small acceleration lane here originally. And then that went away when we were able to eliminate. That's a huge cost. Because you have all the utilities to relocate and all that. So it's we saw it as a decent trade-off. You have a nice new 36 wide entrance with 3 lanes defined, left out, right out. Now, I don't know how you normally exit right now. You put the sirens and lights on and just do people behave or not?
It's just not on the highway.
That much traffic as it is at the turn lane over there.
So what's that?
There's not gonna be as much traffic as there is on 1 South. By National Bank,
Yeah.
there's not gonna be the same amount of traffic turning in for deceleration.
No, I'm just saying traffic in general at our busy times, you're gonna, if the car comes out of there with the lights on, then both sides of that highway, both lanes are gonna have to stop.
I could see down the road being kind of like a fire department where you actually have a set of lights out there.
Yeah.
They haven't required that from us, although I kind of thought that they might early in the process. They might want to have flashing lanes and some kind of.
When you actually do have an emergency,
Yeah.
you trigger the warning lights.
So
So Richard,
they're not
is that
requiring
cheaper
it.
than doing having the deceleration?
Oh, much cheaper.
Having the lights.
Now, I haven't looked at that, and I don't know, I don't think the cost estimator or something like that.
They just flash yellow until you need to get out.
That-
And we switch them to turn red.
It's
So that'd be another, ADOT.
Right, we're still waiting on the one north.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
how
I mean,
many,
that would be great to have that.
how many officers go down Butterfield versus Road 3?
It just depends if they're going north or south. Generally, if they're going north, they go to 3. If they're gonna go south, they go to Perkinsville. Most of them are going Perkinsville now because it has the roundabout. It's a little easier to merge.
So the chief's right, like a lot of times they don't go code down those streets, but they're going 45.
Yeah.
And we do get complaints from the neighbors all the time. Why are they driving so fast on our road? And I said, I guess we should be happy they're not doing lights and siren right
Yeah,
now,
code
but they're
3.
trying to get on the highway as fast as they can to respond to an emergency. But we get our share of complaints on the neighborhoods over there.
Okay, you also mentioned retention. When we're talking retention ponds, is that?
Yeah, detention is what we call it.
Okay.
We slow it down and let it go. We don't keep it on site. But as part of the landscaping plan, we put some shallow basins here and then here where we might be a foot or so deep, that they can be landscaped and used for roof runoff and things like that, just for some water harvesting and the plantings and stuff. So they're more like landscaping basins. The detention basins, everything, that's just the site right there.
Okay.
Right now, everything runs down and blows up through that guy's lot right there. And so we're detaining our increased runoff there.
No, I was just.
Yeah, and then all the rest of the 100-year storm goes wherever it goes. That whole area, this whole area is inundated during a 100-year storm. It goes way into the subdivision back here.
So what will the cost be roughly if ADOT was to make us do the turn lane?
Well, the turn lane, I had looked at about $100,000 to do that, plus the utility. You can't forget about the utilities. That's another.
So the 100,000 is just building the turn lane, but relocating the
And
utilities.
utility, no, that's for everything, utility relocations and all that stuff.
Oh, okay, 100,000.
I'm sorry, just for clarity, the 100,000 covers the turn lane and moving the utilities?
Yeah, that's what I had figured early in the process. Using bid schedule stuff from public bids.
I was hoping for more substantial savings.
What was that?
If I can add a few things on that, and the cost of the turn lane is just the third lane, not any
Yeah,
repaving of the highway or anything.
right.
Um,
Well, the turn lane includes another lane.
Yeah,
12 feet away.
about 12 feet. The issue, if you keep the north entrance open with a third lane there, also becomes cars coming out and cars going in and having a weaving issue. And like if a police officer's coming out trying to run to a call and a citizen's trying to pull in, you could have a conflict there. Or some confusion of folks trying to get out of the way of the officer, not knowing to go left or right, that sort of thing. So that's probably one of the reasons ADOT says if you've got the south entrance, they would rather you close off the north entrance for emergencies only. And I think a signal, if we ever had to put one in there, probably a good budget guess would be about 200,000, I think, for a couple poles and some lights.
And
I'm
we're gonna
happy.
outgrow this in 10 to 15 years. Is that the number I heard?
Well, it all depends on population, of course, but yeah, I wrote that down too, is that, we're at the low end, but I was happy to see at least that there is provision to expand. This has been built into this. Yes,
We can easily add another 10,000 square feet up there,
Up there in the pond.
You're looking
that
at
whole section up there
And
that
you've got
shows up
this.
on an earlier plan.
other uses.
And 10,000 would just be probably minimum. We could probably squeeze it up to about 14 or so.
And that's actually part of the reason for the two-story scheme. We were able to get better site utilization and allow for that future expansion. A two-story building.
Excuse me, can I get you to use the mic just because we are recording and Councilmember
So
Armstrong may not hear
the
you.
two-story scheme allows better site utilization, and also it allows us to separate patrol functions downstairs from administrative functions upstairs. So I think that was a good solution to the problem of being able to expand. In 10 to 15 years, you could expand the building.
Is this designed to expand at all? Have we taken into that?
Yes, it is. See, that area there would allow for
That's the expansion.
ground floor entrance, but also the lobby space that is the main entrance to the building is actually a two-story space. So it's a very open lobby. So it will be to basically go into that lobby and circulate north as well as circulating south. So the position of the main entrance is very conducive to that future expansion.
Okay, future retention is also figured in with that expansion?
You know, if we added more detention, we could probably squeeze it in the same space that we already have.
Microphone, please.
Oh.
So there would be,
Yeah, we can expand the basin that's there and take roof runoff from that building. So that shouldn't be an issue at all. We made it fairly shallow in there right now for what
Okay.
we need. We're not adding that much more roof space to it, so it shouldn't be a big deal.
because if we go forward with this, I don't know about 10, 15 years from now, that council is having to do this again.
Well, you know, in all due respect, sorry, Chuck, but I'd say in 10 or 15 years, you're saying the ultimate thing, like if they could maintain their 400 square foot per person, then you would have to expand. I'd say like suck it up a little bit, because I mean, look what they have now. That's still gonna be,
I'd say you're probably at
Much
least
better.
20 years because we do have some extra space in the building
Yeah.
that's designed for expansion within that building. And with the rate we're growing, I mean, the staff is growing because we're not really growing at the same rate as the town. I think you're easily 20 years before you'd have to look at building anything. We purposely did a lot of open spaces where we can come in and put cubicles. I mean, I like the open floor plan better, but you know, like our building now, we have people sharing offices and you can just throw up the little half wall cubicles and you can fit a lot more people in the building.
I think you guys could share a lot of space.
There's a lot that
before you
we've
have
left.
to
Our
get
sergeant's
private.
office is just one big office so that because they're not all there all at the same time. But they'll each have a desk and then you can just put a half wall. So we could take that space and add quite a bit of staff to it before we be where we're at right now.
So you have a while to get-
It'd be quite a while, I think.
What about the Connex boxes that are on site right now?
Some of those, once those are homicide cases, and as those cases are closed, we're talking about moving those out to the range. We have to maintain the evidence for 99 years.
Okay, so they can go anywhere, they don't have to be.
Once the case is closed, we're not so concerned. I mean, most of them, if you opened them, you couldn't stand the smell anyway. But the active cases, we would just keep in the building. We'll have enough storage in the building for it. And then as those cases close, we'll just probably put the connexes at the range because we have plenty of space out there.
Right.
Anything else on this part? Anybody? Tom?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Do we go to the Duffy thing now?
Yeah, I have a question.
The best for last.
Just need direction.
So we made the whole, and this is the, just like the site plan was the final site plan that you were just looking at. And this is the final floor plan that you're looking at. So it's refined a little bit from the earlier plans, more delineated. And it shows all the functions that we've been talking about. And I think in previous meetings, you got a 11 by 17 handout with all these floor plans. But all the different functions are shown in these plans. And like Bill was saying, that's the main lobby there. We have security on those two doors, sets of doors. So that's where we get our security there. And of course, we have security down at the Sally Port. And those areas are also all secured. So once again, without going into a lot of detail and being here for another couple hours, these relationships all seem to work really well with the and we have built-in expansion. So the next slide is the second floor fully delineated. So once again, it's the administration area in there, which is separate from the patrol officers and sergeants down below. And the EOC is right there. Once again, it could be used totally separately. It could be used during the day or night and not impede the operation of the So these are some sections through the building, and it's all steel and concrete block. The block is intricately colored and intricately waterproof, so it doesn't require any maintenance. The roof will a rubber roof, which will easily go 30 years. And we have hide all the equipment. We're putting all the equipment on top. We don't want anything on the ground. So we don't have to worry about vandalism of the units.
That's a good idea.
This is another section that shows how it's being put together. And once again, it's highly insulated. It's steel, it's concrete block. So it's a good public sector building and will not require any maintenance. In our opinion, it's a handsome building that will enhance the town.
I don't think I've ever heard those two words together.
We're trying.
You don't want
It was just yard.
How much longer does she have?
I just got reelected, so you're stuck with me.
Anyway, so it's two different types of masonry, concrete blocks. We've got the yellow block there. It'll be split face and then 8 inches high. And then that is more of a tan brown color. We should have brought samples of those. We had them custom made, Yavapai block. And then to accentuate the stair tower, we're proposing to use the sandstone. Local sandstone will be represented. And then the upper floors will have metal panels. They're insulated metal panels. They have a Kynar finish on them, which is also guaranteed for, I think, 50 years, isn't it? Well, it's going to be around for a long time. So once again, it's highly insulated. It's maintenance free. And we think it's good looking. So there's some more views.
So hypothetically speaking, if you had to do another vehicle like that, you have space in this design?
There's actually a processing bay because in the past.
This is a schedule that we
So there's a bay that drug car apart.
included. The dates aren't going to work, obviously, but the time on the charts will work. So we can get into that if you need it, but basically, if we were to start back in December, you'd be moving in February 2022. So now we're probably March or April of 2022. So we're approximately there. We did have a professional estimating company on our team, a company called Abacus out of Phoenix. And I think you've all seen the estimate, the report they put together. And we instructed them to be on the conservative side. In other words, when in doubt, keep it on the higher side because we've got inflation going and things are, unfortunately, things are creeping up.
They ain't creeping, they jump.
And it
2x4s
has yet
are
to
30
begin.
bucks a piece or something like that. So anyway, their estimate came in at about 6.
It's better than
Which was
6.5.
within our target area. And we felt a couple months ago that was a little on the high side. It might be creeping closer to where it's at.
So that includes everything, heat, air conditioning, everything.
No air conditioning. No, I'm just kidding. Everything, yes.
What about the furnishing of the building?
Yeah.
Except for the furniture.
No, that's everything included, landscaping, you name it. So it's a total package.
That's not including furniture?
I think Joe's going to tell you where all the.
What about, and then all the technology equipment?
Any more questions? Oh, another thing, when we put this out, some
New building?
probably, deduct alternates of a few items here and there in case we need to enact some of those to cut it down a little bit. We'll have that built into the bidding process.
The design of the furniture was That's, but that.
Well, I was hoping. I was hoping. So,
Yeah, I was looking at the 5.5.
so basically the total project right now is, the exact numbers, 6,378,000. So what I did is I just rounded them to make them easier to look at on what the payment is going to look like, the annual payment that we'll do. So right now we have about a $6.5 million project. It's going to cost us about $100,000 to finance it. Right now, we've allocated almost $1 million of town funds, the design and the furniture and fixtures that we're going to be putting into it. So we're going to need to finance about $5.6 million. A 20-year loan, and I did this one at, the top numbers are at 3%, the bottom are at 2%. We're going to be somewhere between 2 and 3% when we actually finance it. So it's going to be a 20, if we did a 20-year loan, our payment would be between $343,000 and $376,000. A 25-year loan would be between $287,000 and $322,000. All those we can afford. I'm just recommending a 25-year loan just to stretch it out a little bit farther. But we can afford a 20-year loan if that's where council wants to go. One of the questions came up, what if we put an extra $1 million down? In our reserves, we do have the ability to put another $1 million down, not finance as much. If you ask for another $1 million, it would be really tight. But that's, you can see the savings in the payments. On the 20-year, you save about $67,000, and on the 25-year, about $58,000 a year. But the bottom line with 300, even at the higher payment of $375,000, let's say, the town can't afford that payment. And so what I've done, and I know you guys have seen this before, these are our 3 major funds. And I put HERF up there because one of the concerns was, are we still going to be able to do any work on roads? So as you know, we start the year with our fund balance. In the general fund, we have $7,884,000. This was as of June 30th, 2020. We're only required to have about $2,885,000 per our policy and how much we need in our rainy day fund. And as you know, because we've been budgeting conservative year after year after year, that fund balance has gone up and up and up. In fact, a little less than 2 million of that fund balance is now in the capital improvement fund, because a couple of years ago, we moved $2 million over to the capital improvement fund to do work on Old Home Manor and some other things, pay off our lease purchase line of credit and stuff like that. So both those funds combined, you're looking at almost $11 million. So our revenues are conservatively estimated, which means we're going to do better than we project. We always do every year. Right now, our sales tax revenue, if we keep on the same clip that we're up 24%, if we keep on the same clip between now and June 30, it's going to be an extra $1.2 million. So that's really a $12,240,000 number. The same thing with the expenditures is we overestimate our expenditures. We're budgeted to spend $10,865,000, excluding the stuff below. We're not going to spend that much money. We'll spend maybe $10 million, maybe 9.5. That's reserve and put money in our rainy day fund. Overestimating expenditures, underestimating revenues. And so every year, so the fund balance on June 30th, 21 is $6,316,000. I can guarantee it's going to be higher. And I'm thinking it's going to be more like 7,500,000 if I'm just going to do a guess right now. So that includes taking $675,000 from the general fund and putting it over to the HERF fund, and that gives them $1 million so to spend on roads right now. But then we also got the Arizona CARES Act fund, so we're moving $1.4 million from the general fund and putting that over into HERF fund, so we're going to spend it over there also. So the HERF fund essentially is going to be even, but we're going to be able to do $2.4 million worth of road improvements this year. We've already done the chip seal, and then we have about $1.2 million for road 2 North, those improvements.
But Frank presented,
He's back.
Yeah.
He had presented to the roads and streets, like $1 million for the next 5 years.
Yes.
I think the council is very concerned about the road budget ongoing, not just.
Okay.
Am I ahead of you?
Yep, you're one slide ahead. So, and then what I'm doing, and I do this for all of our funds, but then I subtract, as we start adding things in, like Old Home Manor, the Wine Glass Ranch stuff we're doing right now. We got $1.2 million here for the Old Home Manor improvements. That's that road extension. The 375 acre feet that we just purchased is on there. And then that irrigation, the property and the water rights, we've got that. So I'm keeping score as you guys make decisions throughout the year to make sure that we don't miss anything. So the next slide rolls forward 1 year. This goes out to fiscal year 21 or 22. And as you can see, I still have $1 million in roads, and that's moving 500,000. That's basically saying that her fund will contribute 500,000 for the roads, and the general fund will move $500,000 over. However, at the end of this fiscal year, if this top number here is 7.5 instead of 6.3 or 6.9, we can increase this number here to 600, 700, 750, whatever you guys, how much you think we can afford. Remembering, we're just trying to keep this. It's really nice that this is almost double. Keeping it 6.3 is a really good target because we can say our reserves are double, but we can go lower. That's fine here too. But again, the revenues are conservative and the expenditures are conservative. This green box, what this is, and this is a 25-year payment. If we pick 25 years, borrowed $6 million, we're going to start, if we're going to refinance a bond issue that we have, our 2010 bond issue, keep the term, we're going to pay it off in 10 years like it was scheduled to, but we're just going to drop the interest rate from 4.75 to probably 2.5. And combining it with the borrowing of the, for the police department will actually save us money because it's one loan. And so it'll save us, we'll save $30,000, $40,000. So it's a smart thing to do. But even if we don't do the police department, we still need to refinance this debt because it saves us $120,000 a year for the next 10 years. And see, we have a thing, we have $750 for this Old Home Manor gas line. We don't know if we're really going to spend that in time, but we're putting in a placeholder in there also. So let's roll 1 year forward. And now you see the true savings of that refinancing. We save $130,000 a year. Our debt service payment's $322,000 a year. So if you net that together with the savings plus the cost of the financing, it's not that big of a number for us. And then like this year, basically what I did for the next 5 years is I increased her funding $100,000 a year, starting with $500,000. But then again, if we start this year at 6.5, this number could be 700,000, 800,000, however we want to do it. So we can get this number over $1 million, start getting up to $1.1 million, $1.2 million, $1.3 million, start heading for that $1.5 million target. So the thing, if we do take $1 million out of the general fund to put initial down, this is going to be 4.2 at this time, probably be 5, but we can't afford to do it. It's just takes a little bit out, a little more out of savings than we can. So that's where you guys, your comfort level needs to be also. But I've said this publicly many times before, the town's probably in the best financial condition that it's ever been in. And we can definitely afford a $350,000 payment for the police department and still fund our roads. Maybe not the level everybody wants, but we can still start increasing our funding to the roads over time.
I have a question for Joe. Okay. Why is it better to go 25 instead of 20?
I guess
it's only $50,000 different.
Yeah. I don't have a real logical reason for it. It's just when you borrow long-term, this is a 50-year asset. So I sort of think, let's let the community pay for it for the next 25 years.
I was just thinking if he's what Chief said, if they outgrow it in 15 to 20 years, we're still paying on building.
You're absolutely right. Right. And the payment off sooner will save.
So then we got to borrow more money to pay this off and then to do the addition.
No, we just keep making this payment.
You understand where
I understand. Yeah. So I don't have a strong feeling either way. We can afford either payment. And paying it off a little more, we'll pay it off sooner, so.
Is there, you couldn't tell me what the cost would be for the extra 5 years? Off the top of your head?
Not tough to my head.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I think that if I'm gonna agree to do this, I would go to 25. We can always throw more money at it if we have it.
Yeah.
You know, to pay it off early.
Yeah.
Make an annual
So
pump.
I don't have an issue with that. I'm still struggling with the fact that our study shows we need $1.6 million for our roads every year in order to hope to keep up. And that price isn't going down. Okay, so in 5 or 6 years, it's not going to be 1.6 anymore. It's going to be 2. So I'm just looking realistically, where are we going to be? You know,
So the flip side of that, in 5 or 6 years, if we decide to build the police department, then it's not going to be 6 billion, it's going to be 8 billion. And I mean, so it's a catch. It's half dozen. So
I have a side note for that one.
Uh-huh.
I know it's not anything official yet. We haven't done anything yet, but we are going to be studying impact fees for future developments. And those were slated for roads and police, correct? Roads, police, and what was the other one?
Services, right?
yeah,
Is it just for
yeah, I think
roads?
so. Yeah. Yeah, roads and police.
Roads
The
and
other
what?
side too is economic
Roads and
development,
police.
to grow the revenue side, which right now is hard to predict, but if we're fortunate enough to get a second grocery store, that's a significant chunk of change when it comes to money.
Just trying to get through tomorrow.
And, one of the major reasons that our sales tax is up, the pandemic has helped because people are shopping here in town, but also we're getting the online sales, the Amazons, the Kmart or the Walmart, all those. So, and that's adding about 50,000 a month to our sales tax collection, around 600,000 a year. And it's just ticking up every month.
So that's the way of the future, right, is online shopping. I don't think it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
So if we put $1 million down, you think that'll make an effect on our budget for the town for next year?
No, I think we are comfortably covering our operating budget with the FTEs and where we are right now. But it just cuts into our rainy day fund. So it's where your guys' comfort level is on the rainy day fund.
Right, but if we put $1 million down and did a 20-year, we'd be saving, we don't know yet that 5-year cost of how much we'd be saving.
Right.
But we'd be saving $58,000 a year?
Yeah.
On interest?
Well, no, actually, that's a payment difference between the 25-year loan. Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we'd be saving about 60,000 a year just in payments, and pay it off sooner. So your savings is going to be $1.5 million plus the 60.
Okay, so we're in the best shape we've ever been in to do this.
Interest rates are the
We're going to be strapping ourselves if we do this project as a town. We're still going to be able to do some things, but we aren't going to be able to do the things we want.
Not everything.
So we're going to be strapping ourselves. Do you feel comfortable that the economy is going to continue for the next 20 years the way it is right now?
Okay, let me ask, I'm going to go off of that. How much is out of our annual right now? I don't think our population is going to go backwards. So I suspect our sales tax would maintain somewhat, even if growth stopped. And I'm going to hit you with a question. How much are construction taxes attributing to this total amount that we're looking at right now? Because that would then, if the economy slows down, construction goes to zero. But I'm anticipating sales tax would still maintain with our population.
And probably still grow. So construction sales tax is up about 12%. I make this so you might remember what it was, but it's not as high up as our retail sales tax is.
But I think what his question is, what percentage of our general fund is building permits?
Yes. Take that out of there. If we didn't have that, Are we still in good shape?
Well, it's not going to go to zero, but let's say we cut it cut in half. Construction, we're just really dived.
We've seen
Because-
construction go below zero
So.
in 2010, so no.
Well, no, but we still collected, we did have some. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking it's about $1.5 million a year is what construction revenues throw
It's
into
not
it.
huge.
Yeah.
As far as a percentage.
Yeah.
We can get you that number.
I just don't
That's-
have the exact
Yeah.
number.
I think you're.
So-
And I know you weren't prepared for
Yeah.
construction numbers.
Right, I
Here's-
read something about that.
Joe, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The other, what are we going to do with the old police department? We haven't talked about that. Is that going to be absorbed in developmental services or public works over there? And what kind of expense do we have on those buildings in order to make them functional?
Functional. So we know we want to use those buildings. Now, the facilities group, it's basically Chuck, Frank, me, and Cecilia have been getting together and talking about that. And those moving pieces, we're just not sure how they're going to go or where they're going to drop. It really depends. Once this building gets built, police department moves here. Now we have an empty police department. We know we need space and development services. We know they're pretty well filled in, but their building's in pretty good shape. But we know the police department just needs to be gutted and remodeled. So whatever we use it for, whether town hall moves there or whether development services moves in there, we're going to have that. We're going to have those expenses. So, and yeah, and I've dropped a couple. I basically have $1 million out in 23 when that number comes hitting us, and that'll depend on how in depth we do of a remodel. And so we're just throwing placeholders here. We have no idea how close these numbers are.
Okay, so you've already put placeholders in there.
Yeah, but we don't know what they're going to be. It depends what the town decides to do. I mean, they could wait 2 or 3 years before they touch the police department building. We just don't know.
Because I saw a set of restrooms up there for $228,000.
That's the amount that they have left to spend this fiscal year because somebody didn't get them done by June 30 like the contractor promised.
September. No, June 30. You're right.
He told me
We won't argue that.
in February, the contractor said June 30.
I've let that go. I'm not going to bring it back
So
up.
anyway, by doing the police department, we are avoiding a future expense of creating more space for public works or development services.
Yes.
And we're
Yeah.
supposed.
We'll use that building for that space for something. We're just not sure how that's going.
Well, I just said they're over there and we know that they're.
Yeah. You know, we talked about maybe moving the court down here so they could use this for the courtroom during the day. That saves the officers can walk. Town hall moves back up there. Yeah, those pieces haven't been decided, but.
Options.
That's a pretty ugly.
Yeah, I want to try and jump
Just
in,
saying.
just a couple things on the revenue side, maybe. I know you're
Right.
betting on the
Right.
come, which you can't really do, but as far as HERF goes, remember that the state hasn't addressed HERF since 1991. So at some point in the future, I would think they would need to address it statewide, but there's no 30.
30 years, why would it be any different?
So, yeah, I guess you could go 30 more
Oh,
rather than
gosh.
30 this far.
I didn't
And the other issue is with the roads building, unless we deal with the lease, we're supposed to be out of that building by September for the roads facilities because of the equestrian lease.
That's a whole nother.
Not worried about that one.
I've got a couple ideas. One is, Lon, I know you want to do the 1.6 million for the roads here, which I agree, but I'm not sure that we can. Even if I guess if we didn't do the building at all, we could. So if we were to maybe just put $1 million down, and then we could use that other $1 million to bring that 100,000 up, which we've already brought up from 400,000 to $1 million, excuse me, on the roads, which is a heck of a step for us. And then maybe it's something that we need to visit on to see what the council wants to commit to the roads per year. What number we're wanting to say. I know we went to the voters asking for 1.6 a year. And that's where you're getting your number from.
Well, that's what was recommended. That's what we needed. That's what we were told
To
we
do
needed.
7-year turnover.
So
And then before you go, one more thing, because I'll forget, I don't mean to interrupt you, but then I had a conversation with Senator Mark Kelly today. And he says that there's funding probably going to become available for roads and infrastructure for communities like ours.
Based
He said,
on
I
what?
can't. What?
I'm sorry.
What's
What
the
was
guarantee
it
rate?
based on what? What was? his
On the
reference?
bills that are set to go through Congress is what he is. And he said, I can't guarantee it, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, what's the guarantee rate to get it?
No, there's none.
I mean, I wouldn't bank on that.
I'm not banking on it. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing out for another possibility for funds.
So I
That's all.
think
Now
one
go
of the
ahead.
things we mentioned when it comes to revenue is that every year we do have a significant where we're coming better than budget. That maybe, and like Joe mentioned, that you guys could dedicate at the end of the year out of our surplus. We're gonna take 800,000 of that next year and put it towards the roads, in addition to what's already funded. I don't know that you can make that hard and fast rule because you can't really commit the future councils on something like that, because that's a pretty big.
Yeah.
But
Well, for me, if we move forward on this, I would be moving, I'd be moving just the opposite from what you had said and say, no, let's keep our $1 million. Because if things start going like this, we're gonna need it. And then look at every year down the road. And just like we did with our unfunded liability and everything else that was staring us in the face, when we get there, if Joe or whoever's doing what Joe's doing says, hey, guys, we can afford to throw an extra $1 million at this loan and stop knocking this interest down and do it, as long as we have everything else covered.
So you're saying go with if we go forward, just do the $1 million.
Yeah, and not
And
get,
do the 20
not get too carried away at this time with pounding more down, because then we take away options. Once that's gone, we can't
Makes
get
sense.
it, we
That
can't
makes
get it
good
back.
sense.
So,
And we're gonna pay a little higher interest in the meanwhile, but it's an insurance policy. for
and
the
if
future.
we pay, if it takes us 2 years to get rid of that extra interest, to get back where we're talking about, and then hopefully be able to still keep doing it.
And then do the 25-year payment.
Yeah.
On top.
And I think, again, with the council we have right now, if that Mark Kelly thing were to happen, or another stimulus check, I think this council's proven that we would just soon take a chunk out of debt as, as anything, or put it directly to the roads like we did last time,
plenty of
so,
road projects, we've got no problem.
yeah.
Go ahead.
And I agree with Lon on the conservative side. Right now, we got a whole new world gonna develop here in the next 30, 60 days. We just kind of hang tough, watch and see what the bubble does. Economy, gas prices have already started to leap. If I'm correct, we'll be at $3-4 a gallon here soon. And that'll affect everything.
Well,
Eric,
more
you
gas tax.
Eric, you got anything else?
I like the 20-year, maybe not the $1 million down, but 20-year.
Okay, we could look.
So what is the difference to you if you go the 20-year? Here again, you're saying I'm going to commit to the higher payment, and if we start to get in trouble, we can't take that back. That's my only feeling. Where if we do the 25 and
But the difference on the 20 and 25 is 58,000. Right, and then our interest savings, you don't have that.
I don't have a.
You don't have it, but it's
But
significant.
But we could also do a 25-year and make the 20-year payment.
But are we?
I said we could.
Are we going to?
Well, that's what
I can tell you, I could tell you, but this council.
They buy the house, says, oh, I'll just throw $1,000 an extra month, and it never happens.
This council's proven that we have.
Yeah. The only thing with a bond is you got to wait till the first call date, which is usually 9 or 10 years into the bond issue. So you're locked in for the first 10 years. You can't prepay on it like a loan. But at that 10, and it's like when we refinanced that 2010 loan, basically the call dates come up and now we refinance it or we can pay it off. But those bondholders in the last 10 years know that when they sign up for it, but you're guaranteed the payment.
Like Jack said.
But you can put the money away into a reserve fund, and then when that 10-year comes, and it'll earn interest while it's there, that 10 years come, we can throw it on.
So in 20 years, if we need to put the extra building up, it'll be paid for, and we can put the extra building up, or extra development, or whatever we need to do.
Well, with that being said, what Joe just explained, I would be willing to bend to go toward the 20 if that's what everybody else wanted to do.
I like the idea of not putting $1 million down and going 25. That's where I'm at. I'd like.
Tom, what do you got, buddy?
I like the million going 25, I believe. So
Say
that we have
say
some
one more time,
flexibility
please.
in there.
Could you repeat yourself, please?
Yeah, I like the idea of going with the million for 25 years because we have a little flexibility. I guess the question I'm not seeing on here, and that's for Mr. Duffy, is the building of the police department going to require the hiring of additional staff for like grounds maintenance and inside stuff? And is that a figure that we even need to consider?
No, and if it is, I think it's going to be incidental. So we're very low maintenance landscaping, very low maintenance building
Is
maintenance.
it dry landscaped, whoever's, do you guys know? Is it dry landscaping?
Xeriscaping.
Okay.
It's our code.
Yeah, so it's a little more for our parks maintenance guys on the landscaping. Janitorial, we're probably about the same, maybe a little more, a few more hours, but not significant.
Actually, it might be less.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. One other question, Joe, I have is the refunding. We talked about the refunding of the bond, and there was also talk at one point about PSPRS.
Right. Two reasons I am not 100% convinced that the PSPRS refinancing is the best way for Chino Valley. I see the math, the numbers make sense to me, but right now we don't book that liability as debt on our financials. If we borrow money to pay that liability down, then we're going to have it booked on it, and then we are obligated to pay it. Right now, we can just pay it down at $300,000 a year with no obligation, and probably, I'm thinking we have 8 to 10 years to get it down anyway.
Okay, so that's not in here.
It's not in there. So we're going to accomplish about the same thing, the plan that we're on right now.
And then the bond is just refinanced and the payment's not included in this payment.
That's correct. Yeah.
So this is just the station.
Yeah, we lower our existing bond payment and pay it off in 10 years, just like we planned on in 2020. So it's just refinance the same interest. That's all it's doing.
Anything else?
Well, I don't know. I was talking and you just straight cut me off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's cool.
I did cut you off. I am
Oh,
so sorry.
I have a witness, a good one too.
So, Mr. Mayor and Council, staff is asking for direction.
It's okay. No, it's okay.
Oh,
No,
I'm
just right back in the corner.
Here, Amy, just hit me.
So you
No,
can speak up.
well, I wanted just discussion with the pros and cons. I know we already talked about the actual figures of the 20 and 25. I want individual opinions on why the 20 and 25, and I'm going to start with mine. The 25 for me, if we can't pay advance payments till after the 10 years, it doesn't matter to me if it's 20 years or 25 because it's still going to be that 10 years either way. So I like the idea of a smaller yearly payment for 25 years. And if we are able to pay it off sooner, then that is awesome. And it saves us money and it saves us the interest. But looking at a higher payment with everything uncertain, everything's uncertain, right? And I'm not in favor of putting $1 million down. I'd rather just take the extra $1 million. I just want the straight loan.
No money down?
No,
No, just.
Oh, just the $1 million down. Okay. So you said 25 and 1.
When will we know the interest rate?
Tom said 25.
Not until we actually take out the loan. So
Where you at?
if,
I mean, that could change.
Yeah.
yes,
Any time now.
yeah,
I mean, that
it's,
could go up to
he's saying.
5%.
it's probably not in today's environment because the feds are keeping rates down for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
But it could be 2.25 or it could be 2.75, just depending on market conditions wherever we are. So
Eric, where you at?
Like 20
20
with the original 1 million down.
and 1 down. And Tom already said 25 and 1. You're the only one who don't have 1.
I'm just the 1 million down And
Everybody's in favor of the 1 million, so that's done. 20 or 25? Who am I missing? Oh, you. Who you?
So this isn't a voting session, so.
yeah,
No,
no, I
We're
guess
we're discussing.
It's not a vote, it's just a,
I'm gonna lean toward the 25 at this point.
okay. Corey,
Doesn't matter at that point.
doesn't matter to you?
It doesn't, yeah.
20 or 25, 1 million?
My original gut, and I'm gonna say 4 years ago, I'd have gone the 20. I have a little more understanding now, and I'm good with the 25.
I am too, so everybody's agreed with the, with 1 million down, and then the 25 years set for one was 20. So that's where she stands, so something that you want to think about. We can't give, are we
Can I,
looking for direction tonight? or-
Yeah, like more for timing, what would you guys like for us to bring back so that we can start securing financing? Talk to, get stuff moving with, I got the impression that council was feeling a little rushed. We don't want to do that. This is your decision to make. It's a big one. But I feel like we've gone through this live. If you want, and you bring it back in a month and you guys are ready to vote, or we don't want to make you uncomfortable, but we don't want to have it sit on a shelf for too long either.
How far out would you like to wait before this come up to council, and we can just vote on it?
How soon?
Or is there any additional questions that we kind of want to
Need
include?
research or anything?
Frank has a question, an answer on the driveway. You want to discuss that, Frank?
Huh?
We should discuss.
Okay,
Unless they ask you.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, Lon did ask it.
Well, and here again, I'm to the point where I'm at now. I'm still struggling with the location. I understand, the chief says he wants to be in the middle of town. I see taking emergency vehicles out on Highway 89 at our busy times of the road, like we might as well start figure 8 stock car racing again. It's not gonna slow down, folks. That road is just gonna get busier and busier.
Mhm.
And so that's the concern I've got for 10 years down the road. And there's no way to widen it. I mean, we're where we're at here, boys and girls. I mean, it's the Highway 89 is what it is going through the middle of town.
So Lon had asked about getting right of way to get onto Center Street.
Yeah,
Everybody
that
knew
was
you had
that
asked
was kind of a cheater there. I was saying, how could we get out the back of the parking lot and get emergency vehicles to Center Street to the light?
Right. There is a 30-foot City of Prescott easement for that high-pressure water line through there. We looked at it. It won't be cheap if you go that way. You have to acquire the property, whereas Prescott just has an easement. We'd actually have to buy the property to get the driveway there. There's drainage issues that Richard would have to work out because that's the floodplain for the cemetery draw through there. And like he said, the building and everything is raised up to get out of that floodplain with the parking lot. So we've got the low drainage coming up into the parking lots. We'd have to figure out how to deal with that. The water line Prescott, I talked to Craig Dotseth over at Prescott. He said he's actually not opposed to a roadway over top of that water line as long as the construction doesn't bust the water line. But he said, rather than having the trees and things that are on it now, roadway's not a bad idea. So that's not a horrible issue or a deal breaker. Having the water line there, it may lead to some expenses of how to deal with the vault over there by Center Street and some things like that.
Would that not just be putting, and it's more for you, chief, but wouldn't that, we're just going back through a neighborhood with cars running code 3 again.
Yeah.
Right.
I have
That's
to look at the map. There are some houses. I'm not sure how many.
On Granada?
Well, yeah, but what we try to do is, if at all possible, if that's just a driveway, we wouldn't hit sirens till we hit Center Street. But yeah, we would be turning them on to get onto Center
yeah.
Street.
And
Maybe.
But yeah, but you're still going, I'm saying you're still going through neighborhood, just like on
Right.
Butterfield.
right. And And also,
And you know, the guy's not turning the lights on, don't mean they're gonna go to
Right,
sleep.
well, I think, the best solution, if ADOT would agree to it in the future, as traffic gets worse, is to get some kind of exit light at the driveway that we could activate, so it's not.
Like a fire station.
Right,
when
it's
they're
it's
gonna
not
pull out, they
all
hit.
the time traffic light that's messing up traffic, but we could activate it if we need to
Right,
get onto the highway.
exactly.
right,
I agree with
because
that.
Yeah,
Best
but-
solution.
because once you get to Center Street, there's a light there, but you still got the light there. It's the same issue you have at 3 North right now by McDonald's. They have issues with that light getting across there because police vehicles typically don't have preemption equipment like fire vehicles do. Again, but if you had an emergency signal there that was approved by ADOT, that would be something that they could activate from inside the building and turn that on for about $200,000, and the driveway to Center Street's more than that.
200,000?
Oh, yeah.
No, I think that was low. I thought it was low. I was surprised by that. Okay.
Chief, to throw a wrench in this whole thing.
Right away
let me-
acquisition
let me ask you
mostly.
this. Ever thought about building an Old Home Manor and using the current police station for a few officers there?
We
Substation.
looked at the Old Home Manor. The biggest issue is it's so far off the highway.
Right, but you would have a substation over where the current station's at right now.
But it's off the highway too, and then, we're trying not to split us up, because that's, even with our detectives, we've even seen with them being 100 feet away, it just causes, they almost feel like they're not part of the department.
Okay.
I think, in bigger cities like Phoenix, where you have the huge population, substations work, but I think for a department my size, I think the cohesiveness of having everybody under one roof together, because we interact so much with our detectives and stuff on a daily basis. Phoenix has detective bureaus that are 10 times the size of my whole department, so.
I think it would just be inefficient out of Perkinsville.
I mean, you guys are all on that road anyways all the time.
We go to the range out there. We're watching for you speeding too,
I know,
so.
I know, I know, I see you.
But we have looked at it, and we did kick around a lot of different ideas when we were.
I've been pushing for that too, but it's a no-go.
She wants us to
I
go.
was thinking about that. Or what about buying Penny Hubble's building here, or the
I think what we were looking at was just,
Penny Hubble's State Farm, the building here?
I think it was just a lot of additional cost if we had to go out and
Too
purchase
small, I think, isn't it?
property. I think you'd have to bulldoze the building. I
Yeah.
mean, if the property's nice, but you'd have to acquire the property and still have the same cost of, building a
We
building.
looked at, we
And
already
you
own
still-
this building. We were trying not to take any retail, potential retail sites.
And you still got the issue of being there in the highway.
Yeah.
With,
A little more open there.
you're talking about the old shop, right?
Yes.
We looked at Shopco, but it's it's just a big open space, but you would have to go in and build it out. And so you'd be spending a lot of money on a building and releasing.
And then getting the
And
parking.
we got to figure out parking, because I don't think we would take up almost that whole front parking lot.
And where would that guy park his motorhome?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He moves around.
Oh,
And that's true. We have all the
Yeah,
utilities on this
Tractor
part. We have
Supply wants
sewer
to
and
come
water
most
and
places
everything's
want to
here on
do
the site.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Did I hear that correctly?
I said, if something like a
Oh,
Tractor Supply wants
if-
to come here, they want existing buildings, generally speaking.
Your ears
And we
perked
don't
up on
have
that.
very good buildings here, so leave the
Sure
30,000 square foot building. Potential retail.
So 6.3, if you put a light in, it'd be a 6.5, 6.6. Like
Just-
two lights.
The light would be a few
back
years
to
down the
back.
road when we actually moved in. I mean, it's not something that has to be done right away.
Down the center. Light. Less than a quarter of a light.
Well, can I go around and ask what the hangups are? Not to be negative Nancy, but just so we kind of all are. My hangup is also the location with the highway, with the 89 right there.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Let me speak louder for those in the back. My hang up with this, I was happy to see the number today. But my hang up is the location also on the highway. So that's my only about moving forward, but they've exhausted the other options. But that's my personal opinion. I just want to hear your guys' oppositions.
Yeah, I mean, I go up and down this highway quite a bit, and I guess my biggest fear is that when that car comes out with its lights on at the highway, the first two people coming south are going to see those lights and be hammering on their brakes, and the 3 and 4 and 5 people behind them aren't going to see him in time.
It's the center.
And so now that officer's going to have to decide whether he's going to this accident or the one that he got called to. That really is it. It's, like I said, I drive up and down this highway all the time, and it's not a fun place, especially when if it's 7 or 7:30 in the morning, or whether it's 4 to 5 at night. I mean,
And the school traffic.
you can make all the laws against using your cell phone that you want, and people are still doing it. So.
I still do it.
Can I play devil's advocate to that?
No. I'm just kidding. My hangup is just the money and the time. I feel the highway, there's not a lot of difference between the highway at Butterfield or 3 North and here. I mean, there's a few less cars between here and there. But the way I see it, you got to fight the highway no matter where you're going. Maybe we could, what's that?
That's all I was gonna say.
Maybe if we got actuators or something, or let's just maybe throw in the light too. I don't know. That's my thought. The highway's the highway, no matter south end, north end.
The light at 1 North should help. Should help.
The what?
The light at 1 North should help. We have 1 North and center. If we're in between,
Yeah,
should help. Sorry.
your turn, Corey.
Yeah, my whole thing was the safety getting out. And again, how is it any different than the others?
We fight it every day. And I don't think, no matter where we go, we're still gonna have to get on the highway.
And, thinking about other locations,
We're still gonna be fighting getting on the highway, because that's never gonna change. It's just gonna get worse as the town grows. But that's where policing the highway is just part of our policing. That's a whole section of what we deal with.
So that was why I brought up the fire department type warning lights.
And those would be perfect if we could get those.
Just hit the button.
I really think that will evolve to that anyway. And let's face it,
I would love that.
All it's going to take is somebody to get hurt real bad in that rear end accident, and there'll be a light.
That's exactly where I'm going.
No, you're right.
That's all it takes.
Well, that's why I didn't want to just totally get rid of that, the original entrance, because we know at some point there will be an accident in that driveway, and we're going to need to be able to get in and out of here, so.
Close.
Same concerns, the entrance access. I like the fire station type light when a unit's gonna go out, hit it. But I think the idea of a new building, the proximity, I go with that. And the 25 years, just because right now there's instability and $1 million down.
I'm good with everything except for the driveway. I know the officers are capable of leaving out here, but like Lon said, somebody's at rear end, somebody else.
Yep.
I'm good with the light there.
Tom?
I like the addition of the warning light situation. I think it's something that the townspeople will get used to. Maybe a little hairy at first, and maybe we'll get an accident there, but that's just something we're gonna have to live with.
Okay, here's an idea, Joe. Do you want some direction? How about we figure out what the light's gonna cost to get it in and done? And you come back to us with new numbers. And then we can go from there. Is everybody in agreement with that?
How long are we talking?
That would still have to go through ADOT as far as.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I understand.
But we'll get you some more information on it, so, yeah.
Now, are we waiting for an answer on the turn lane from ADOT, or is it kind of in limbo, just sitting?
We can't hear you, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah, give him the mic.
I'm half deaf and I didn't put my hearing aids in.
Somebody stole mine.
Can you hear me now? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
No, we've been working with ADOT for, 3-4 months. We had to wait to do the traffic counts when the timing was correct. And I think Frank knows about that because we piggybacked that on some other traffic counts in town. And we made several site plan submittals to them. The last one that we made officially, that's actually going in, I think, next week, has the revisions that they wanted to see, which was the gate closure. And then we took out all the turn lanes and everything. So we're just waiting for their final determination, their final permit comments. So we don't have those yet, but we can actually talk to the traffic engineers about this whole issue of traffic signal, or at least a warning light process.
fire station somewhere.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
When a fire truck's gonna come out, they
Yeah.
hit something and those lights.
Yeah, the
flash.
warning lights go on all over the place and you can see them real clearly.
I don't particularly like the turn lanes, and I've seen this way too many times. Somebody pulls into the turn lane and it blocks the view of the car on the outside of it. And I've seen that
And it
accident.
blocks the view of the car turning left too.
Yeah.
Joe, I see an urgency of our interest rates right now. They're so good. If we don't make a decision, what's the chance of interest rates going up to 5, 6, 7, 8%?
Can't give you that. I feel that the interest rates are going to stay pretty stable for the next few years.
After tomorrow?
Yes.
There's no guarantee.
We're all
There's no
thinking
guarantee.
it, so.
And if I could predict that, I probably wouldn't be here today. I'm more concerned about the real inflation of building costs.
Me too.
And that going up every month. That's
35% less.
Yeah, and they're saying inflation is down, but the reality is the inflation for all of us is going
And
up.
then
So
finding material, these guys are with finding building material. You got by block, they get slab and out of cement and.
yeah, and labor too. So yeah, that's the true, that escalation of cost is what time is going to cost us, I guess.
How long is it going to take to finish the engineering if we were to approve going forward to complete it?
The design.
Yeah.
It's on the.
Oh, I have it right there.
Back.
Right there. So the construction documents, if you don't mind, Doug. It's bidding another.
Yeah, it'd be 15 weeks to do the construction documents, and then 4.5 weeks to bid it. And it'd be a couple weeks to put the contracts together and everything. So that would put us probably out to bid somewhere in the probably the beginning of May, somewhere in that area. Keep in mind, the drawings that we've shown you tonight are only about 25 or 30% of the total amount of drawings we did. I didn't show you all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing.
Sure.
So we've got it set up that we can move pretty quickly on this. And interest rates might be creeping up and materials are creeping up, so that's something to consider
Joe, I
too.
got one more quick. Joe, you said that this loan was actually, the amount was 6.35 or 6.32 in the beginning?
Yes.
But your figures are based off 6.5.
Well, a loan of about 5.6. So it's about 6.6 total with the cost of construction and 500,000 for furniture.
I thought you had a buffer built in there already.
I do have a little bit of a buffer in there, yes.
Not $200,000.
Well, maybe, it's right in that area. So,
Garage sale
but
furniture.
we can, if council desires, we can start the refinancing and the financing for this project. And probably within 90 to 120 days, actually have the money in the bank. If you want to, we can lock the interest rate in pretty fast.
Yeah, that'd be
Well, the reason I asked for that time was how long is that going to take? That I think that if council decides that they want to move forward with finishing that in that 4 to 5 months, we're going to have a pretty good idea whether this whole thing's a bust.
Yeah.
Or whether it's even feasible.
Right.
90 days.
But we can do all the preliminary work on the financing, get it all ready. And then the day you guys want to have a meeting to, basically they fund the loan a few days after you approve the resolution.
If 5 months from now, we find out it went to $8 million because of,
Yeah.
then we got another thing to talk about.
Yeah.
That won't be much of a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we can bring this to council to go ahead and go on the next step for drawings.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, a week?
I don't know. Can we do that?
Can we add it into this agenda?
Aaron?
Yes, we haven't put the agenda yet, so as long as we can get it to Andrew. I don't know.
No, it's just approving their contract and getting them moving, which we've had the agenda item already set. So, and then I'll start rolling.
We'll have an action item.
We'll have two. Okay, you'll make that happen?
I will get it on the agenda.
Thank you. All right, anything else on this? Tom, anything from you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, anybody else, anything? Okay, we're gonna move on to the next and last item, which is review and discussion regarding rosters for council subcommittees and appointments. And I want you guys to understand, we're going into this, the stuff you're gonna see on the screen was my suggestions. It's not cut in stone.
I did know.
What's that?
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just wanting to get done. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, these suggestions are mine, so they're not cut in stone. So if you guys
I
have
disagree with
heartache-
all of them.
Ma'am? So if you have issues with it, it's fine to move them. Okay, we're gonna start with this paper with the horizontal, which is on the screen as well. Tom, you can see the screen okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. All right. We'll start with A. And it's the Upper River Watershed Coalition. Excuse me. And the only change we did, Lonnie's still the representative and Corey's gonna be the alternate. And I'm just gonna read it. If you have heartache, we're gonna say they're good. And if you have a heartache, mention it up, okay? B is, how do you say that one? You gotta go. That's all right, go ahead. Some technician for advisory committee, and it says,
Town
it has
engineer,
nothing to
town
do with
engineer.
us, so that's good. Northern Arizona Municipal Water Users Association, I'm there, and then the alternate would be Corey. NAMWA Technical Advisory Committee is Mark Holmes and town engineer. E is ground, it says reserve.
Canceled.
What is that?
No longer applicable anyways.
Okay, cool. So that one's easy. F, Central Yavapai Met Simpo. We're gonna put, it's not in there, but Tom was gonna take that one.
Good.
And Corey was gonna be the alternate. And the SIPO technician, that's town stuff, the town engineer and assistant town engineer. NACOG is gonna be myself, and then the the alternate will be Corey. Gamma will be myself, and again, Corey. League of Resolutions Committee will be myself and Corey. Yavapai Regional Medical Council of Electors will be myself, and the alternate will be Annie. Chamber of Commerce will be Cloyce with the alternate of Eric. Arizona Municipal Risk.
Uh-oh,
What?
take me off.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
yet.
So we'll put, what's her name?
Cindy.
Cindy, thank you. Cindy in there. And then, where am I at? Oh, Eric will be the alternate. No, where am I at?
Laura.
Laura, excuse me. I got lost. I looked away.
N is no longer, so that's defunct.
N is no longer. Good, that one's easy. Yavapai Combined Trust is Laura Kay and Tiffany. Liaison to the Chino Valley Fire Board would be me with a backup of Annie. Prescott Regional Airport Master Committee, man, that's a lot. It'll be myself and then the backup of Annie. And then the next one doesn't apply to us. Anybody have any troubles with those?
I like how much you guys are taking on, just the two of you.
Okay,
It's
that's
quite
special.
refreshing.
But we haven't got to the good stuff.
Ah,
Don't meet regularly, so.
Hey, where's the other one that you did up?
It's in there. It's in the packet.
Oh, I found it. Sorry.
And it's on the screen too.
And then appointments committee will be myself and Tom Armstrong and Lonnie Turner. Economic development will be Annie and the chairs of these will be decided in committees. Eric and Tom. Finance will be Tom, Cloyce, and Corey. Public safety will be Annie, Eric, and myself. The town manager recruitment got wiped
Finished.
out. UDO will be Lon, Cloyce and Corey. Roads and streets will be Corey and Tom. Waters and utilities will be Lon, Corey, and Eric. Any issues with any of those? We are done.
Okay, so I'll make the revisions and then this will be brought back to the next council meeting.
Okay. Tom, did you have anything on that?
Nope, no problem with any of it.
Okay, cool.
And staff will be posting the dates of these committee meetings monthly. So we should all see that in our emails, right?
Correct.
Amended?
Yeah. Lonnie, it's your turn.
Oh, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Tomorrow is my son's birthday.
Well, tell him I said happy
Poor kid.
birthday. Is that the one I,
Phoenix, 15,
the one I met? Here?
probably. Yeah, he made short notice plans. I made him come to a council meeting because I didn't have time to take him home. That one.
He's not old enough to drive even yet, legally.
What do you mean, Lee?